are Homefront Farmers. We are a gardening business. We're like in Georgetown, right down the road. And we build gardens, first of all. We do garden maintenance, so we like do the whole thing for you. Like build the garden, plant the garden, take care of the garden, all that stuff. And we also recently rolled out a consulting package where we FaceTime with our clients and we kind of walk them through the process. So lots of exciting things going on for us. Our maintenance staff is about 15 people. We have a few other staff in sales, such as Peyton. And we also have our own greenhouse where we grow all of our own plants for our clients, and they're also available to the public for sale. And we'll give more info about that later. Great, so for this presentation, feel free to ask any questions throughout the presentation, but also keep in mind that we are going to have a Q&A section at the end. So that's usually the thing that people get most excited about and most lively for. So just keep that in mind. If you have a question that you have written down that doesn't necessarily have to do with the slides, that's great, and we can get to it towards the end. One more thing I wanted to say is just that this presentation is going to be sent out to everybody who registered, so don't worry too much about taking copious notes or anything like that. You will have access to it later. Great, so I wanted to start out for us facilitators to introduce ourselves a little bit more thoroughly, so I'll start if that's okay. Yeah, my name's Allison. I have been with Homefront since, I think, 2021, so almost 5 years now. I started out just on the maintenance staff as a gardener, and in recent years I have become part of the leadership team, just doing some of the project management stuff. It's really exciting, I love my job, and I'm excited to be here with you all today.
So I'm Peyton. This is my third season with Homefront, so I also started off as a gardener as well, so doing all the maintenance for all of our clients, and then I've recently moved into sales and marketing role where I now meet with all new prospective clients, helping site out their spaces, helping with more on the construction end of things, as well as getting people signed up for our maintenance service. So happy to answer questions about any of that too, if you had any interest in any of our services as well.
Great. All right, so I'll just start by giving you a quick overview of the session. So the core of this presentation is going to be going over the step-by-step guide to planning your garden for this year or for any year. These steps that I've laid out are informed kind of by the way that we do things for our clients, but it translates very well to your home garden as well. We also are going to have a quick session in the second half about flower varieties for your cutting garden, if you're into that kind of thing. So, if you're at all into flowers, you know that it could be a whole presentation in and of itself, especially, I could do a whole presentation just on dahlias. So we're going to go through it pretty quickly. It's going to be more so for inspiration and just getting you started and going through our most popular varieties. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, the last part of the presentation will be our question and answer. And yeah, the sky's the limit. Ask us whatever you want. So, all right. So here we have laid out the steps of planning your garden. We are going to go through each of them in detail. So first step will be to assess your garden, choose your crops, map it out, order everything you need, add soil, compost, and fertilizer, and follow through with your plan. So we will start here with step one, assess your garden. So the first thing probably the most important thing that you want to take into account if you're building a garden or if you're choosing a new space to put containers is the light situation. So of course, all plants like sun. Some of them can tolerate more shade than others, but for the most part, you want to try to get as most direct sun that you can. The best thing, The best thing to do if you have your garden near your house is try to get it on the south-facing side. Just because of like the way the sun is oriented, that's when it's going to get the most light in the morning and in the afternoon. We have a really cool tool that we use that I've written up on the board it's an app for your phone, and it's called Lumos. It's free, and basically it's an augmented reality app. So you can bring it up and it'll like show the sky and it'll show you the path of the sun from where you're standing based on different times of year. So that tool is super helpful. I know when Peyton goes to do a site visit for a potential client,
That's the first thing that I do.
Yes.
Is to see, yes, I know you would like your garden here aesthetically, but does it make sense for growing? Are you going to be able to get the ample sunlight that you need with enough sunlight during the day? Ideally, you want to have a space that has 4+ hours of direct sun a day, to be able to get your maximum yield and potential of the plants. So, it tracks from morning till evening. You can see, based off of where it's coming from, if you have a tree line in the way, if you have, if your home might be kind of blocking out some hours of the sun. So it really just gives you a full view of what times of day you're going to get the most sun. So definitely recommend that app because it's a really easy tool to be able to see from any location that you're interested in planting things for.
Yeah, and it's good that you mentioned like the amount of hours. I think, like at least in my experience, I think the lower limit is like 4 hours a day. Anything lower than that, it's not going to be super successful, even for a shade tolerant plant. So the next thing, testing the soil is like not necessarily something that you have to do, but it is something that we do as a service to our clients. We take a soil sample and send it to UMass Extension, and they do an analysis. So this chart here, we don't have to go through what everything means, but this is just to give you an idea of the kind of information that we're getting. Really what we focus on is the main macronutrients. Phosphorus and potassium are really important to plant growth in general, and you see they have these little bars that tell you like phosphorus was low in the soil, so we may need to amend with something. Another important factor that we look at is the organic matter. In raised bed soils, organic matter tends to be really high, like 10% or above. But if you have an in-ground bed, it can get really low. If you start getting like below 5%, then you probably need to add more because organic matter is like the important food for all the microbes and bugs and to make plant nutrients as well. So in that case, if your soil organic matter was low, you might want to amend with some compost. Another thing you want to look at is so I have drainage written down here. It's important to make sure that you have a site where you have good drainage. Sometimes I've run into properties where like I have a garden that is built on an old tennis court and it's just like always wet, and that's not great for the health of the plants. So you just want to make sure you're choosing somewhere where it's all able to like drain and run off. And then another thing is if you're gardening in raised beds, you want to take a look at your soil level. When you have a raised bed and like if the top of the raised bed is here and the soil's down here, then you start to have this effect where the lower growing plants are shaded out by the side. So you want to make sure that your raised beds are at least almost full, just to avoid that effect.
And I'll add something too for soil level as well. So, with higher raised beds, while they may be like aesthetic or ergonomic as well, it's less bending, a little bit more comfortable. The soil compacts quite a bit. So, keep in mind if you are going to add raised beds, I wouldn't really recommend anything above 2 feet tall. That would just, the soil compacts a lot more. You end up needing to add more and more each year. It does get pricey to have to add each year in that sense. If things are getting too saturated and compact, the roots can rot. It just has a a stronger effect on the plants in that sense. You want to have good aeration, you want to be able to till it up, you want to be able to get down to the bottom so there's enough space. So just something to keep in mind too, if you're interested in ever building a raised bed, if that's something you don't have existing, just not giving it too tall. I see a lot of advertisements for these really beautiful aesthetic things that are, maybe like hip height or higher. I would recommend, around 2 feet being maximum height.
Did you have any, Peyton, I know like a lot of your job involves like assessing a site.
Yeah, absolutely. So, when it comes to drainage, keeping in mind like building on a slope, you can certainly always build on slopes. Want to keep in mind, being too close to any like watershed area, things like that. In testing of soil, in this area, a lot of our soil is rather clay, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it does affect the density of the soil in a sense. So it is important just to kind of map out if you are going to be putting additional soil into different areas to be able to build a raised bed, that you don't want it to be on an area that gets too saturated or doesn't have the ability. And that kind of ties into sunlight too. If you're not getting enough sunlight, the water's not drying out enough. So in super shady areas that don't have a lot of drainage, it just remains really saturated, and that's just a recipe for rotting and your plants not growing successfully.
All right, step 2, choose your crops. So this is the fun part. I know we're not in winter anymore, so it's kind of like a little more urgent. You might not have time to cozy up with your seed catalog. You might just have to go and buy some and hope for the best. But yeah, choose your plants. There's all different factors that we take into account for our clients when helping them choose plants. Everyone's different. Maybe you want to think about, what can I grow that I will use in my kitchen most often? Maybe you want to think about, what can I grow that I can't get at the grocery store? Like, for example, I love kohlrabi, but they don't sell that Stop and Shop, so I just grow a lot of it at home. Yeah, so it just depends. Just think about what you want and what you're going for with that. And then also another important thing when choosing your plants is just taking into account what you learned about your site in step 1. So you might need to do a little research on what you can and can't grow. Like if you've got a particularly shady site, you might not be able to grow bell peppers. Like they won't ripen in time. But you could grow a lot of celery and beans and lettuce. Just make sure you do that research. And this is a picture of our beautiful 2026 crop planner. We unfortunately no longer print them, but we send them all digitally to each of our clients, and it's just a list of like our recommended varieties. All right, step 3 is map out your garden and figure out how many plants or how many seeds you're going to need. So you do not have to do this at all, but we use a program called Grow Veg to map out all of our client gardens. It's a really awesome program. All of the little icons and like the spacing and the varieties are all pre-programmed in. It's very handy. And it's pretty affordable. On here I think I have written down it's $40 for the year. I'm not sure if that's accurate anymore, but it's very doable. And the cool thing is that it will also generate a tab with like a planting schedule for each crop. So super great tool. But of course you don't have to use the computer to do it. You can always just get a piece of graph paper, measure your garden, and then just draw it out to scale. All right, step 4, order seeds. So this list here, with the little leaf icons next to them, is just, those are most of the top 3, Johnny's, High Mowing, and Fedco, are the 3 that we buy the most of our seed from for our greenhouse. The Hudson Valley Seed Company and Baker Creek are more so like the really like fun varieties that like us nerds really like. Baker Creek has all kinds of like fun, colorful, weird varieties. So definitely recommend looking at their website if you haven't already. Hudson Valley Seed has really beautiful packaging.
It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. So yeah, you can order your seeds. Now is definitely the time to order seeds. It's definitely the time of year if you're going to order seeds online, things are going to start selling out. So I definitely recommend doing that ASAP. Another thing you're going to have to do is determine what you grow from seed versus what you're going to have to go buy from the nursery as a transplant. For example, something like a pepper or a tomato, it's not going to work out so well to just plant a seed directly in the ground because we don't have a long enough warm weather for it to get big enough. So you usually just buy a transplant from your local nursery. There's lots of options around here, as I'm sure you know.
And if you wanted to get started sooner, do it on your own, and if you had like grow lights or other ways that you can keep it warm and do within your home, that's certainly something that you can do. It just requires, having additional equipment and things and a space within your home, to be able to put trays in with the proper lighting and things like that. So, having kind of a combination of both. There are a lot of things that you can direct seed. For example, like peas, baby lettuces. Like there's a lot of things that you can ongoingly seed. But it, probably the easiest thing, given our climate rather, is to just buy the transplant and put it in so it's already a mature established plant. And that will give you kind of a recipe for success in that sense. And then, having the plan ahead of time does show you, when the appropriate time to plant them is, how long that window is, and we'll get into succession planting too. Yes.
All right, step 5 is add soil, compost, and fertilizer. So once again, like now is kind of the time to do this before you've got plants growing in the garden. You want to do all this so you don't mess with them. So like we said before, it's a good idea to, if your raised beds are getting really low in soil, it's good to give them a little top off. Depending on the organic matter levels, we usually add at least a 1/4 inch of compost to most of our client gardens every year. Compost is great for organic matter, but as we're learning more and more about beneficial microbes, a really good quality compost can also it can almost behave kind of like an inoculant. It'll have a lot of the healthy bacteria and fungi that your plants like already baked into it, if that makes sense.
And if you're looking for brands of compost, one that we frequently use is Coast of Maine. You probably see that a lot of the nurseries. It is high quality compost that we use as a sprinkle on top of most of our gardens.
Coast of Maine?
Coast of Maine.
Coast of Maine, yes. They
How
have
about a brand of fertilizer?
A brand of fertilizer?
fertilizer is a little bit like of a tricky one to recommend. I would say so what we use, it's called ProGrow 534. And it's just like a general
ProGrow.
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 Thanks.
ProGrow 534. So that's just our organic general fertilizer that we use. I'm not sure if we buy it in bulk, so that's the only thing is I'm not sure if it's available, for purchase as individual bags. But I would say anything that's organic should work well for you. I'm trying to think.
Fish fertilizer?
Yeah.
That's later on.
Yeah. But I may have to come back to that one.
Yeah. It depends on the certain type of plants. I mean, you would want to.
For sure.
You don't necessarily need to fertilize the soil before you're planting. You could be fertilizing as you're planting. So you're adding fertilizer in with your transplant. So you don't necessarily need to prep the soil with fertilizer ahead of time.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a raised bed, about 20 inches.
Yeah.
And my question is, mine's a little low, so I'm going to top it off. But how deep do I want to go into that topsoil, into the soil, to kind of churn that Or do I want to just kind of keep most of that organic material on the top?
That's a great question. I don't think you're gonna I wouldn't worry about turning the compost into like the actual ground.
Down into the deeper soil?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, a light sprinkle on top should suffice just
And then
fine.
just like a light.
And then
Yeah.
turning,
Yeah.
and let that sit for a while before you put the seeds in?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is best. We always say it's best to apply it in the fall if you can, just like let it sit.
Yeah.
But it's also fine, you know, it'll break down.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's good to kind of tilt, like, before adding soil and when you add it, soil does compact, so go heavy. If you think it looks mounded, it will settle. So you're better off mounding really heavy on top with almost what looks like a mound on your raised bed, and give it a couple weeks, and it will level down a little bit to be something more efficient. Just so you're not like continuously having to add, you're better off kind of overshading than undershading in that sense. So just keep that in mind, that it does settle and compact over time.
What
Yes.
about leaves? Should you add leaves?
At the bottom?
In the garden?
Yeah, as in like layering it and just, so there is
Yeah.
that method you can, like with cardboard leaves, there's a lot of different ways that you can,
Grass?
Newspaper or something?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that decomposes, so your volume of soil, especially for a higher up raised bed, soil can get expensive, and especially, it's also very hard to put in when you're getting a few yards of soil. It is a lot of work, or, hiring someone to do that can get pricey, so, to balance that out, you can layer it, like you said, with leaves, cardboard, things that are decomposable, so that way, you have that layer at the bottom and then you have the soil on top. But again, that would be something that you would want to do early on, so there's time for that to settle. I would even recommend maybe doing that in the fall.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, if you're gonna add leaves, I would make sure you're adding it like at the bottom of the raised bed versus like in the top layer, because it can, just due to the nature of like the decomposition of leaves, it can rob nitrogen from the plants. So you don't want it like mixed in that top layer. But also like leaves are great for the fall. Like you can sometimes like you can mulch your entire garden with leaves, like to put it to bed for the winter, for example.
I tilled.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
I have raised beds that I planted strawberries and asparagus in, and now they've settled like pretty substantially. I'm nervous about adding soil to bring the, like, what do I do?
So with my strawberries, I have the same problem at home. And I usually just add, for my strawberries, I kind of just add around them a little bit. Just kind of try to tuck them in. For the asparagus, I wouldn't even worry about it too much. Like, you definitely don't want to be adding more than, say, like half an inch on top of the crowns that are poking out. But they'll come out. Like, the new growth is still under the ground and it knows how to find the sun. Does that answer your question?
Well, I need to add like 4 inches.
Yeah, so
over several years.
Strawberries are very like easy to dig up and like resilient. So if you,
So you think I should just pick them up and then put them back in on a raised bed?
that would be, yeah.
For that amount, for 4 inches, it might be best to remove them,
Yeah.
keep them safe, add the soil, put them back in,
Okay.
and do a little light sprinkle around it.
Okay.
And they can take a beating. I just did that. I just
Yeah.
dug up.
Just
I know. I had a client that got their garden rebuilt, and I just had to like dig them up, and I like had them in my bucket, and like, and they're great. They look great.
Okay, happy to hear it.
Yes.
I was at the Grange on Sunday and they had a seed exchange.
Oh yeah.
But I was wondering, they mentioned a raised bed soil that I could get in Snows in Easton.
Snow Hill.
What is, what,
Yeah. It's
how
just
is that different from any other soil?
That's a great question. So I don't know a lot about them, but I know they're like highly recommended. And if I'm not mistaken, don't quote me on this, but like, so for example, if you were to go get compost from, like a landscaping company, that's gonna probably be 100% leaf mold, which is fine. But in terms of growing vegetables, you want the organic matter that decompose to be similar to the vegetables that you're growing. So I believe Snow Hill is probably using food scraps to make their compost. I believe so. I'm not 100% sure, but considering they're a farm, I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. They're also local, and it's just like nice, you know. I think that's part of why people like them so much, because it's nice to support, you know, your friendly neighborhood farmer.
Go see anything at all this spring or summer.
That's right. It's like, yes.
Easter, Mother's Day, baby showers, bridal shower.
Okay, great. And then this is like a whole rabbit hole that we're not gonna go down, but if you did a soil test, you can use that information to determine what kind of amendments you need to add. So the cool thing about, I'll go back to this for a second, the cool thing about UMass, or you could go to Connecticut Extension too. I believe the Fairfield County office is in Bethel. And they'll do a soil test for you, and their report, the part that I don't show here, the report will have like recommendations for like exactly what to add and exactly how much. And then that'll be a guide for you to just like get what you need.
I think we mentioned before, like some things are better to amend in the fall, and some are better in the spring, or even just splitting that amount between the two, both fall and spring, could just kind of help not, I guess, shock it all too much.
Great.
Can you add, so if you didn't want to test, could you simply add a fertilizer, an omnibus fertilizer?
Yeah.
And if there's too much of something, is it gonna, if there's too much, pick some phosphorus, for example.
Right.
Too much, is it gonna hurt the plants?
So at the end of the day, if you're going the organic route, it's really hard to like add so much nutrients that it harms the plants. So I think that approach is fine. Just get a general fertilizer, follow the instructions on the bag, and you'll be good to go. When you're buying a fertilizer, usually you'll see the NPK ratio, which is nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And those are the three major nutrients that plants need to grow. So you just want to have like a somewhat even ratio for those. And then also nitrogen is really important to leafy growth, and it's also very mobile in the soil. It doesn't stick around, it gets leached out. So you might want to also get like a high nitrogen fertilizer and like fertilize with that every few weeks.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is garden tone,
You can use garden tone, yeah. Yeah, anything organic, I'm down with it. You know, like it's kind of all similar ingredients. You know, it's just your preference for brand.
there's a, I can't remember the name of that. It's white,
Like perlite.
yeah.
Are you talking about a
It's like
fertilizer?
it's on the, like, the garden, it's not the peat moss, but it's a white powder.
Lime?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's lime.
maybe.
Or lung?
It's,
Oh, I'm not sure.
Yeah, not totally sure.
If you can think of
Oatmeal?
bone meal,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of amendments.
it's a white powder.
Got it.
I'm thinking
It's
like
not a powder, but,
maybe like gypsum.
all right, that's good.
Yeah, if you think of it, then just like raise your hand again and we'll
Yeah.
we'll help. Yeah.
That's one thing.
So step 6 is just to follow through with your plan. Just remember to have fun and enjoy the process. The great thing about you guys in your gardens is that you're not gardening for a client, you're gardening for yourself. So it gets to be really relaxing and fun. Not that I'm not having fun, but you know, don't take it too seriously. It's a learning process, especially if you're just starting out. Like it's meant to be an experiment. So like just remember not to take it too seriously.
Absolutely. There's so many factors involved that aren't personal.
The more you do it, the more you realize how out of your control it is.
It totally is.
Yeah, very upsetting.
The most humbling thing.
It's hard for some of us.
Yeah, it can be pretty hard.
Well, I'm here because last year was a complete failure.
Oh, yeah.
So I am learning.
We learn from our mistakes, you know,
I'm
and
hoping that I can do a better job this year.
Yeah, of course. Awesome. So yeah, follow through with your plan. record keeping can be really great just to like keep track of like any mistakes that you made, what you want to change for next year, anything that went really well, anything that you really loved. And when I say record keeping, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have to like go out there and take notes and be scientific. Sometimes it's just going out there and, you know, taking some photos every week just to like document your process.
How about a few comments on,
Sure.
so everyone that's alive needs to eat? How about slugs?
Yeah.
And we even had chipmunks
Oh,
climb
yeah.
and
Don't talk to me
eat
about
tomatoes.
I know.
Brady
PTSD from those chipmunks.
We couldn't figure out what it was that was eating the tomatoes.
Mm.
We put a camera up, chipmunks.
Every
Chipmunks.
year, somebody asks me
Yes.
how to deal with the mammals, and my answer is I don't have a foolproof solution.
Right.
What
Yes.
we do, we have there are some like deterrents that you can use. We use like fox urine granules, and sometimes that like cuts them off. Another funny thing that we do is we get these like organza jewelry bags, and we put them over each fruit cluster, like before they ripen, and sometimes that works. I know. Well,
And half the tomatoes.
yeah. But you know, sometimes if you're getting none, like
It can be helpful.
it can be very helpful.
Especially when you have that like prized one, you're just waiting for it to ripe, and you know, and things too. It's like it's okay to pick before it's fully ripe, and having things ripen off the vine to help.
That's a
you know,
great point.
Yeah, you don't. It's so hard when you wait for that perfect moment, only for it to be just decimated. So you're better off, you know, picking a little bit early, knowing something that can ripen once it's blushed. Like for example, like tomatoes, peppers, things like that.
For sure. That's a great point.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, the perfect moment for you to harvest things.
What about pepper? I mean, peppermint or
Yeah, like peppermint.
Oh, yeah.
Spray. Yeah.
anything spicy?
Capsaicin,
Yes.
yeah.
Cayenne pepper.
Cayenne pepper.
Yep. Those are certainly valuable options to try. I mean, really, it's a trial and error experiment. Really, there's a lot of different ways you can go about it. The organza bags we have found to be pretty helpful, but again, you know, if they're determined, they can chew through those too. They do that sometimes. You know, having proper fencing around your space. You know, if you don't have a fenced-in yard, if you don't have fenced-in, you know, raised beds, the risk is higher. So that also is something to consider from like a building standpoint. You know, if you have raised beds that are just freestanding in your yard, it can be a free-for-all. So what can you do to help that is enclose it. We have, you know, full enclosing options. There's, you know, fences that you can put around. Also, you know, for underneath the ground as well, like putting like metal grating. There's ways that to help from the animals that do come out from underneath the ground into your garden. You know, they will find ways. You know, there's a lot, like those fox urine pellets are actually really helpful. I think there was one that we used too that was made from blood.
Yeah.
But
blood meal.
Yeah, like blood meal, so
Yeah.
that, you know, those types of things can sort of help scare things away. Or even like those sonar sensing things can sometimes be helpful depending on the critter. I've had that be helpful in some gardens as well. It's just the high-pitched sound can keep them away, so that would be something to discuss with like a landscaper. Yeah.
I'm a relatively new gardener and I can empathize with failure.
Yes.
And there are certain crops in this area that are considered foolproof.
Yeah.
Well,
No such thing.
for example, kale. I
Yeah.
can't seem to grow kale without white flies.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yes. White fly.
Is it too clustered or is it just like it's
It just
don't take it personally?
Don't take
No,
it
don't take it personally. It's not an if you get them, it's a when kind of thing a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's kind of just the name of the game. You just want to keep the plants as healthy as possible. I would recommend fertilizing with the high nitrogen fertilizer every few weeks, just because if you're keeping the plant healthy, the leaves are like less tender. They're like rougher and healthier, and that makes pests less attracted to them.
They have to work harder to eat it.
Yeah, so like
Yes.
a whitefly is a sucking insect, so he has to like put his little teeth in there
Oh.
or whatever they are.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it just, the thicker a plant's leaf is, the less palatable it is.
By the end of last year, we kind of gave up.
Yeah.
And have to admit that we didn't close it down at all for the winter.
That's all right.
Is rototilling like sacrilegious?
No.
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 It's not.
Can you
Yeah.
say something good about rototilling?
When people say that tilling is not good, they're speaking about like large scale, like on a farm where there's just like like really like pretty deep, like just disturbing the earth. You doing it in your garden, it's not gonna mess anything up.
It's not an anathema.
It's
Yes.
totally okay. Yeah, gardening requires some disturbance of the soil.
Okay, good. Last question I have is, we got starts from a local place when our seedlings went, and the shishito peppers started off being 1 in 10 would be, hot.
Yeah.
As they matured, 5 out of 10 would. And is that unusual, or is that a particular type of transplant? Or how does one not end up with huge bush of I can't eat them, they're too hot shishitos?
That's an interesting question. It's funny because I don't usually eat them. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
right.
I'm growing them, but I'm not eating them.
Yeah.
So,
What are you doing with them?
Well, I garden for clients. So
You're growing it,
so
but
they're
you're not.
eating.
I see.
I haven't gotten the feedback. Well, I definitely do notice that like the quality of the plant changes throughout the year. So, I mean, I do think like probably it might be one of those things that's just like inevitable, like as you get closer to the fall time. But I'm not 100% sure how to solve your problem, but my instinct is saying make sure you're keeping up with consistent watering. I don't know if you hand water or if you have irrigation.
Hand water up at the community garden.
There you
Okay.
go.
That might be part of it.
Yeah.
Just keep it consistently moist as
Try and
much as
keep it as-
humanly possible.
Yes.
Okay,
as much
thanks.
as you can. That might have something to do with it.
What about pH of the soil? Yeah, and for fertilizers, but if you've got too much of a acidic or
Yeah.
alkaline
Yeah.
soil, how do you adjust that?
So the way that we do it is, so for if you want to raise the pH, we add lime. They just sell like ground up limestone. It's pretty easy to find. And then for lowering the pH, we get these like little sulfur pellets. There are really specific instructions on how to apply that. You don't want to apply all at once. You have to apply it like partially in the spring, and in the fall, and partially in the spring.
Yeah,
So you don't
that's
like,
what I was thinking.
yeah. I'm sure there's other options out there for other amendments.
But as far as, because I really had kind of a bad,
Yeah.
like,
I'm
crop.
sorry.
So I can sympathize with you. Tomatoes would really never get to even a ripe
Wow.
point. They would just kind of end up falling. And I had chipmunks, but I was thinking maybe the soil isn't balanced. But is there anything that tells you that the pH of the soil is probably not well, unless you take it to a lab?
Obviously the best thing to do is to take it to a lab. They do make at the hardware store like the little dip test, and that might be good enough for your purposes. It's hard to, I would say you can't really tell just from looking at the garden. Like, usually if you have a problem in the garden, like even for us who like do this all day, every day, like you don't always know right away. It's like, okay, you have to like troubleshoot it. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's my long answer. I hope it's helpful.
Yeah.
Can we talk about fungus and tomato fungus and squash fungus, whatever that mold is?
Oh, powdery mildew.
I'm gonna ask
Yes,
that.
powdery
So what do we
Yes.
do about that?
Yeah, we spray. We spray for it. We have an organic spray, and the spray that we use is actually it's a biological agent. It's I can't remember the name of the bacteria. No, but it's called, the brand name is Cease.
Yeah.
CEASE. Okay. And yeah, it's some type of bacteria that will fight that fungus.
And is that for tomatoes too?
Yes.
For both of them?
Yes. You can use these for any
Any,
fungal disease.
great,
It's
thank you.
great, and honestly, I would pre-treat. So
Yeah.
when you first plant out your transplants, spray them. Because it's a beneficial microbe, and it'll. And also just like with powdery mildew, it's like any fungus, like just make sure you're getting enough airflow.
Yes.
If you need to prune some leaves back, just like get some airflow going.
I've had some success with zucchini some years, but the last 2 years, they've flowered but never fruited, you know what I mean? And like, I know that's something to do with reproduction or sex or something, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So usually that's due to incomplete pollination, so that means like it didn't get cross-pollinated enough by a bee or something.
Right, so like,
Companion plant, I would say.
You can do that, make sure you're incorporating some things to attract the bees in. Also, another thing that I do when I have that problem is I just hand pollinate. So like I'll take the male flower and I'll just like pop it on there. And I honestly just wiggle it around, just leave it there.
okay, so you just pull that and just leave it on the female?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a friend who ordered some specific bees for that
Interesting.
purpose.
Interesting.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
What about milk?
Milk. Yeah.
I've never heard
For-
of that.
for like-
Somebody sprayed milk.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
I think cease actually, it's like lactose.
Interesting.
Something.
Lactose-
I forget the
lactobacillus.
exact scientific, yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of DIY methods that are out there that are worth a try. Can't harm it. For powdery mildew specifically, something I did this year was diatomaceous earth sprinkle, like on top.
Yeah.
And I found that
it's
to
like
be,
this one.
it's like, yeah, that's the white powder as well. And that was something I found to be helpful as a preventative, but also helped to combat it a little bit as
Can you
well.
say that name again?
Diatomaceous earth.
Diatomaceous
earth. Yeah.
Just getting back to the zucchini for a minute. I think once I looked and read up about what a male or female looks like, I think the issue was, like, no female flowers seemed to grow. It was just men. So like, is like a plant just naturally gonna go both ways or what?
It should, a zucchini should have both, but I'm not sure why that happens.
Yeah.
Maybe try a different seed company or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Well, they were plants, but okay.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
have a question about raspberries.
Sure.
Do the deer mess with them?
Usually no, they have
Okay.
thorns on them, so.
Yeah, that's what I
Blackberries
thought.
and raspberries, the brambles, yeah, they have that natural resistance.
Protection.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Blueberries and strawberries, on the other hand,
Yeah.
I strongly recommend enclosing
Yeah.
in some way, shape, or form.
Raspberries, you didn't add it?
Yes.
So I have a question about plant rotation.
Uh-huh.
So with the tomatoes,
Yes.
Originally when I started, I rotate them.
Yes.
But now I planted my tomatoes outside of my garden fence because I need the space, and they need a lot of space. So now it's just like outside. So do I need to?
I would say, like, every, you can eventually put them back in the spot that they were in. Like, I would say a rotation of every 3 years is probably fine. And also, like, I don't know, there's some, like, mixed opinions about doing crop rotation in, like, a small raised bed garden, for example. Like, it's kind of all mixed in together. So it's not like a hard and fast rule. When we're talking about crop rotation being really important, we're thinking about, like, once again, like a big farm that, like, might be growing a monocrop, like we're growing this crop on this field and we're growing this crop on this field. And then it's really important to switch sometimes. But in your raised bed garden, it's not the biggest deal.
Also just focus on amending the soil in the same spot. You don't necessarily always have to choose a new spot. So that's something that we've been playing around with too, especially if you have like a permanent trellis or some sort of situation where you want them to remain. It might be the best spot in your garden. Even removing, some of the soil, adding some new soil, amending that space can be equally beneficial too, as opposed to putting it into a new spot. It's just something to consider, or play around with. Yeah.
Can we talk about slugs?
Yes, slugs. Yeah.
How do we get rid of slugs?
So we use like an unlisted organic pesticide. It's called Sluggo.
Oh yeah, I've tried sluggo.
Sluggo Plus.
Didn't really work.
I haven't tried the plus.
Try
Try
Sluggo.
Sluggo. All right, and the other question is,
Do you just sprinkle it everywhere? Like
no, I usually sprinkle it around each plant, the base.
a lot?
No,
You want to go
you want to go light because that can also like. I've put too much and it will clog up the area. So just like a little bit.
You just want to.
A beer
I got it.
And also,
they're not picky.
if the sluggo didn't work, maybe investigate if the munching is actually from slugs or if it's from.
I've had contact.
Okay, got it. Okay, gotcha. It could
But
also.
I mean, it could also be something else. Also.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's because I have had that happen where I'm like, oh, it's slugs, and then it's like, oh, it's slugs and it's caterpillars. So just like keep an eye out. It's good. One really good skill to get as gardeners, like get really good at scouting. Like just get up in there and like look at everything and turn over all the leaves and just check out what's going on under there, and then you can
Hand picking things
take some
off,
pictures and ask a friend for help with the ID.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
The question about whiteflies before,
Yeah.
does that also apply to aphids, or is there another tricky thing for aphids? Or like give up, basically, I think close to
Yeah. Aphids, I mean, like, once again, like, not to bring up spray again, but like, you can use something that's not harmful, like neem oil, you can try that. They don't prefer that.
I was spraying them with like dish soap and water.
Yeah, or even just like the hose on like a higher setting just to like just scare them away.
But they wash off pretty easily.
They do.
So, in terms of like, yes, it looks gross on the plant, but it's not going to make or break you being able to eat it most of the time with aphids. Like you can, especially if you're just seeing the skeleton and stuff like you just wash it off. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also just a quick thing is just to, that's another situation where like try to focus on the health of the plant. Like nitrogen fertilizer, make sure it's getting enough sun, because the stronger it is, the less susceptible it'll be.
That's right.
Ladybugs are good for aphids.
Yeah,
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, you can definitely look into like buying beneficial insects. If that's something
Yeah,
that
ladybug.
you want that.
Oh, I like that.
You mentioned that you'll be selling transplants.
Yes.
And how's that for a segue? And will it be from your location right on 107?
No, so we are hosting a plant sale at Knott Hill Brewery. I don't know if you guys are familiar
When
with
is
that
that?
location. It's in Richfield.
Bless you, bless you.
And that's going to be on the 16th.
Saturday, May 16th.
Saturday, May 16th.
Oh, May 16th.
May 16th.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
early.
What month is it? So May 16th, you could also pre-order. So if you wanted to go to our website as well, you can check out all of our offerings that you can pre-buy ahead of time. We even have the ability now to deliver them to you for added costs, but you could also pick them up at the plant sale with them already pre-ordered and set out for you in a tray. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm biased, but
We have the best ones.
we have the best. I'm not kidding. Like sometimes I go to other nurseries and I'm like snobby. I'm like, oh, these don't look good. Our greenhouse manager does amazing work.
She really does. And we work really hard at choosing the varieties very specifically. We've had a lot of trial and error and the ways that you guys are discussing. We've done it all, so can certainly trust us and our different varieties and options.
I was told on one small container, one seed, only one, into the tomato plant.
What?
In the dirt, one seed.
Yeah. Like, I mean, just putting one seed will turn into a
One
transplant.
seed.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's true.
That is
It's not
true.
a sprinkle.
It's not a sprinkle, yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It's crazy, right? Just one small little thing can turn into something great.
Yeah. Someone
Yeah.
told me that. Okay, I tried.
Yeah, you don't want to overcrowd it too. I mean, if you are going to plant like a few seeds in there, you know, thinning it out. If you're noticing, you know, multiples growing together, you know, ensuring that you're picking the strongest one and getting rid of the excess, so that way you're not overcrowding that space.
How about light? Tomato
Yeah.
blight, cucumber blight?
Yeah.
Light is unfortunately one of those things that it's like almost unavoidable. Like your tomatoes will get blight if it gets late enough in the season.
Cucumbers usually go first, by July.
Yeah, who's talking? I can't see.
There
There you are.
Yeah.
Like, who am I looking at? Yeah, cucumbers. So for the cucumbers, I would say keep an eye out if you see the cucumber beetles. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're small and they're yellow with black stripes. And they, not only do they like eat the plant, but they transmit those diseases. So for a home gardener, I would suggest just going out and swishing as many as you can. They also make pheromone traps for them. That, you know, it'll have like a little thing that smells. It smells, I don't know what it smells like, but, and you know, they fly in there and they get trapped. You could also try a yellow sticky trap. Sometimes they're attracted to that because it's the same color as the cucumber flower. For tomatoes, it's just like tomatoes are just so susceptible to disease. So like, I know I sound like a broken record here, but just really focus on the health of the plant. Make sure you're watering consistently, and you know, for a tomato, I would use like a nice general fertilizer every few weeks.
Also, for, sanitizing your tools
Yes.
is huge. So if you are using your zippers or things like that, we always keep a bottle of like isopropyl alcohol with us and spray our tools in between.
In Purell, I always
Purell
Purell my
hands.
hands between gardens.
Because it's contagious, like,
Yeah.
we spread disease. So, you know, if you're clipping a diseased plant and then clipping a healthy plant after that, then you're running the risk of transferring that disease. So the more that you're, you know, keeping your stuff sanitized ongoingly throughout your day, the, you know, better chance you have of not spreading or you know, being responsible for the spreading in that sense.
Do asparagus beetles also get a trap, like, is there any type of trap for an asparagus beetle?
That's a great question. I'm guessing there is a pheromone trap for them. I have had them before, and you know, if it gets, well, I don't know. If it gets bad enough, sometimes you have to just like chop it all down and just let it come back next year.
I was surprised, like, I'd never had them before, but this year I had them and I was like, what's going on? And then I was like,
It's so annoying.
and then I was picking them by hand and
Yeah.
I managed to control it, but I was just like, where did these come from? Like,
Yeah.
how did they find out we just died asparagus? Like,
I know.
It,
it's just like a message board or something?
Yeah, exactly. They seem to just manifest out of thin air because the plant exists, but it's, yeah. It's really frustrating, but unfortunately, it's part of the process.
Sure is.
So, always better luck next year.
Alright, so
Get into cut flowers.
yeah, let's get into cut flowers. Just once again, this section's gonna be pretty quick. I'm just gonna give you guys some inspiration. So we focus on vegetables, but we also do incorporate flowers into our gardens. A lot of our clients like to have flowers not only for the benefit of the insects, but so that they can make bouquets and have fresh bouquets at home. So these are just, these slides I'm going to go through are just like some of the most popular kind of flowers and some images of some of the varieties that we grow. So I believe on the left is ballerina, in the middle is Oklahoma mix, and on the right is it's a Queenie mix. The green ones are called Queenie lime. So zinnias are awesome because they're cut and come again. That means you can cut a flower off and then it'll keep growing more flowers for you all season. And they do need to be supported with stakes and netting. So like, if your bed, if you have like a rectangular bed here, I'll put stakes in each corner, and then we buy this netting. It's called Hortanova, 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 and it's like a twine mesh, and you just like put it over. You can tie it, you can staple it, and then as the flowers they grow up through this mesh, and it supports them. It's awesome. They grow through like 2 years. So this is awesome. I feel like it's a lesser known. So really, really beautiful and grows really, really easily. This variety is called Shimmer. There's another one that we used to grow that was more colorful, which I preferred. And I'm sure you can find that by Googling. The one all the way on the left is called, that's the Super Crest, and that's the one, this isn't really a great picture to showcase it, but that's the one that looks like a brain. Like, yeah, when it gets big, it gets really like curly and weird. It's really awesome, really unique.
And they last really long as dried as well. Like I have a vase in my kitchen from this last summer that it still looks really lovely in a vase. They hold their color rather well.
They're so beautiful. Okay, snapdragons are my favorite for sure. It was my favorite when I was a kid. Snapdragons are also cut and come again, however, they kind of prefer the cool weather, so you may have a lull during the summer and then they kind of come back for you in the fall. Same deal, you can do the same support situation with the stakes and netting as the same.
Definitely, if you want like long straight stems, definitely recommend netting because they do kind of tend to fall on the ground and kind of curl, and then they don't have that same like long, nice look that they have in here. So
yeah, that's true. That's true of any flower. If you're not giving it the right support, then it will like flop over and then it'll start curving, and that's not great for putting it in a vase. Another quick tip for cut flowers is you always want to cut as long of the stem as possible because that will encourage the new blooms to have a longer stem.
Don't be afraid to be aggressive. Like it may seem like you're cutting a flower way down, you know, it may seem like it's too much, but the more you cut and the stronger you cut, the better over time. So I would definitely recommend that.
Cosmos, so beautiful. Yes, we love for cosmos. So on the left we've got cupcake mix. That's like that cute little cupcake shape. So those are more, you can use those more so in bouquets. On the right here we have Diablo, which is something that we grow in our client gardens. It's less so for cutting and more so just for like enjoying the garden. It's like really bright and beautiful. And it's easy to take care of too. You can kind of just like give it a haircut. The tall varieties will require stakes and netting. Diablo is a shorter variety. It can kind of just be bushy. You might need to wrangle it a little bit.
Cosmos, I like to, if I had like a enclosed space, like I like to kind of tuck them into a corner so they're naturally sort of propped up.
Yeah.
And you can plant things in front of it so it kind of stays propped up.
They're very delicate.
They are very delicate, and they, their season is a little bit short. Like they are cut and come again, but it is a little bit shorter than some of our other summer varieties that we mentioned. So it's just something to keep in mind. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just a shorter lived life cycle.
And you're starting all of these with seeds?
Mm-hmm. Or for transplant. We'll start it in trays.
In trays.
In trays.
Yeah.
Some of these things, like I'm trying to think, like a zinnia you could probably grow from
Right
seed.
from seed.
But like most everything else I would try to get transplants or try to start them.
In a tray.
Yeah.
Sunflowers are super beautiful. What I love about sunflowers is that you can grow them for the fall. I love to, this one on the right is called a pro-cut sunflower, and it's just a single stem, so it grows like a really nice thick stem with like a single bloom. You just like cut it, and they're just so freaking beautiful. They come in all different colors, and it's like just the perfect like October bouquet, which is so lovely. On the left over here we have Goldie Double. It's It's very cute, unique. A lot of our clients love it. In terms of support, some sunflowers need support and some don't. You can usually just use like a single stake and some twine. There is a variety we grow called Titan that, it grows to be like 7 feet tall, and that you will have to like tie to the fence. And then once again, with sunflowers, some of them are single stem like I was talking about, and some of them are branching, so you can deadhead them and they'll keep blooming. Okay, dahlias. So dahlias, I tried to fit, I was like trying to fit a million photos of dahlias on this slide, and I just got overwhelmed, so I picked these 3. But there are so many different kinds of dahlias out there. You could go down a whole rabbit hole about them. You could get really into it. Our director of plant ops, Miranda, is really into her dahlias. Yes. It's awesome.
So many varieties.
So many varieties, so many colors. There really is something for everyone. And they are fairly easy to grow, in my opinion. And you can grow them straight from the tuber. We do sell them as transplants, but in my opinion, it works really well also to just like buy the tuber and pop it into the ground after any either process passed. They do need to be supported. They get really bushy. We use it's like a tomato cage but bigger. It's the 44-inch diameter. You could go bigger than that too. I know some folks have like for their peonies, like they're really thick. Yeah, steel ones, like that would honestly be great too.
Excuse me, what do you do for wintering the dahlias?
That's a great question. So we actually are thinking about doing workshops on that because it's like a whole process. So basically what you do is after the first frost, like right after, you dig up the tuber, you brush the dirt off, and then you can divide them. That you will have to like learn about, like watch a YouTube video or like ask a friend, so that you can learn where to find the eyes, the growth points. And then you store them for the winter. I know a lot of people will store them in like sand, like somewhere cool and dark. I personally just like the low effort version at home. I wrap them in saran wrap and I put them in a paper bag and I just like put them in the closet. Which I wouldn't say I recommend that, but it works. It works. And you can see you go and get them in the spring and they're like sprouting.
How much sun do they need?
They can tolerate like part shade.
Okay.
They're great.
I would definitely, more sun, I wouldn't put them in a very shady area, especially keeping in mind drainage, just like you don't want the tuber to rot. So just as long as you're able to get enough dry through the sunlight.
Yeah, if you're gonna try to save or divide dahlias, I would definitely like search for some resources, like learning how to do it, because it is kind of like a very involved process. Like I said, it's a whole rabbit hole you could go down.
Do a whole other presentation on it.
My biggest question, I've heard different theories. I know a guy who was great with dahlias, and he put his in sawdust in a garbage can.
Oh, yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, anemone and ranunculus. These are great because they're kind of like early bloomers. It's a little tricky, but they're worth it. They grow from, well, at least, and I'm sure you could grow them from the seed, but we grow them from the little bulb. They're called corms. That's like the botanically accurate name for them. It's a little tricky, but so pretty. We have our fall planted bulbs, which we're probably all familiar with, and probably all feeling anxious to see them come out of the ground soon. Very short-lived. They don't need to be supported. These ones will come back every year. Tulips. So the way that we grow tulips, we treat them as annuals. You can get tulips that are more for landscaping, that are perennial, but the ones that we grow are specifically for bouquets. So it's just like single stem harvest. You'd be shocked how many varieties of tulips there are. There's like so many beautiful varieties of tulips.
Like the parent varieties.
Yeah, they're just they're very cute, and they're a great succession in your vegetable garden because they're finished growing in, you harvest them in like early June, and then you have space to plant something else, which is very nice. All right, it's 8:07, so I'm gonna let you do your little spiel.
Awesome. So we mentioned a little bit about who we are and Homefront. We have a lot of different ways that we can help support you. So if you're looking at this and this all seems overwhelming and you would like maybe someone to come in and help support you at home, we have a range of different options that we can do that, whether it be from full maintenance, which would be from April to November, where you have a gardener coming to your house once a week for a designated period of time, depending on the space of your garden, and be the same time, generally same day every week. We also have now, we offer remote consulting services, as we mentioned. So, if you're looking for maybe just to get started, we have like a starter consultation, which would just be a one-on-one video call with one of our expert horticulturists on our team, just to, maybe answer some additional questions, get things started. We also have like an ongoing consultation too, if that's something that you wanted throughout the season on like a bi-weekly or weekly basis. So those packages for remote consultations are available on our website and purchased directly on our website. As far as maintenance services, or if you're interested in any form of construction, I do have a notebook over there. If you want to write your name and email, I'm happy to reach out to you directly. It would be me that you're hearing from. We can come and do a site visit, check out your space, see how we can kind of help support you moving forward, give you a proposal on what that would look like. So a lot of different ways that we can help support you. We recently did redo our website too, so we have a lot of options, like a lot of information on there too, if that's something that you want to take a look at. And I left also some cards there too, if you wanted to take a card with our direct info email that you can reach out to me. It's me on the other end, so you'll be contacting me, as well as our phone number to reach out to us too. So there's a lot of ways that we can help support you if this seems like overwhelming. Even something that we offer too is just a garden design. So if you wanted us to kind of help map it out for you and get you started, that's something that we can do too. And again, happy to continue the conversation with any of you if you'd like on how we can help support you.
Yeah, just one more quick thing I wanted to mention is that we have revamped our blog this year, so that'll be a really great source of information if you want to visit the website. We are going to be trying to post every week.
Yeah, with different topics.
Different seasonally appropriate topics.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.